Hi there and welcome to episode 134 of the ADHD Adults Podcast. I'm James Brown, the man who recently did a sex that was sort of okay, which is a new record for me. And as usual, I'm joined by Dr. Alex Connor, who has sex most days and one day hopes to include a partner, and also the woman who's contractually obliged to suffer that horny curate's egg. The interim script guy did this bit, by the way, obviously. Mrs ADHD, Alex. Oh, God, I can't deal with you today. Hi.
Can we never talk about sex again on this podcast? I'm absolutely brutalized by the last couple of hours. I'm sex negative.
You know that just means we're gonna talk about sex more.
Actually, well, yeah, and actually I've got it in later to talk about.
Oh, brilliant! That's going to be good for me, isn't it? And anyway, Sam, hi.
Hi.
Wow. Well, remind me, I guess we only started the podcast because I think all of us wanted to hear about Sam and James' disturbing and clumsy sex life. But now we do a second episode a week because it turns out that 1 minute a month isn't a massive time commitment. and Sam doesn't know what sex is or what time is or what James is.
Anyway, this aging Eric fucking
Sorry.
Christ. I'm in a bad enough place, aren't I? I am not in a good place. And I'm just trying to get through this.
Sorry.
If I could just get
like
through
me
this.
with sex.
Amazing. A week late, James, just saying. Mental health issues.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, to be clear that I'm saying something now, Sam. Is that
Yes,
okay?
I am, yes.
This aging Eric Clapton fan who defends his racist rant at a gig in 1976 in Birmingham by saying it was a different time, you can't judge him by today's standards of a podcast, is also a tragedy in 3 parts. We'll discuss how the week between podcasts has been. Actually, is it a week, 2 weeks? I don't know. But anyway, bad. From our perspective and as people involved in the community, we'll also answer some questions from the community. So send them in on the website. Remember, there are forms now. That's the ADHDadults.uk. We'll talk a little bit about last week's theme because we didn't do one this week, why it was chosen and how we feel about it. So as always, I'll ask you how your week was. No one apart from Sam will ask me. So, Sam, how was yours? You were using that toy was it Richard, the guy that gave you that?
Yes, although actually, yeah, he did. And I immediately lost it. And then I bought a replacement and immediately lost that. But this is a different colour. So similar.
Yeah. So for anyone not watching, the reason there was a pause was Sam was suddenly turning over this little tube that contains glitter and stuff and had completely dissociated. Well done.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sorry,
Sam, how was your week?
It's been all right. Like really shit for you, but I've actually been okay. I bought the wrong dipstick for my car. Mine's really hard to read, so I bought an easier to read one, except I bought exactly the same one that I've already got, and then went to find the listing to say, you've done it wrong, and I hadn't. I'd bought exactly the same one, which is still hard to read. I was cleaning my face and then threw my face cloth in the toilet, which was bad. I keep forgetting to press record. It used to be that I wasn't doing it landscape, but now I keep forgetting to press record when I'm recording for ADHD Towers. So I'll do a huge monologue like this for ages and then go to stop recording and I start recording and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not recording that again.
That sounds better if I'm honest.
It probably is, actually. I forgot that I'd left my phone recording the one time and I was walking around like Donald Duck, and I hate it when James does that. So that was really hypocritical of me. I accidentally deleted.
What?
Do you mean waddling or not wearing any trousers?
Yeah, just wearing a t-shirt, nothing underneath.
Oh, Donald Ducking, yeah.
I hate that. I hate it, and I was doing it on camera. I have like a note with all of my passwords in it. I accidentally deleted them all and replaced them with just some random website. So that was fun. And I've mentioned that I lost the sensory toy, but as well, when we were in Ireland, their friend had passed away and it was really sad. And their friend was 32 and they'd had another friend that had passed away at that age. And I just went, oh my God, how old are you? And they said 28. And I'm like, you've only got 4 years left. And then because my brain was seriously thinking, oh my God, he's obviously going to die at the same time. How long has he got left? And I don't know why I said that. How about you, James?
When you say obviously, you said and thought that.
That's how her brain works. For her brain, that's logic, Al.
Yeah.
I was about
Two
to brush
people,
off
it comes in threes. Death. I don't know if it does. James, how are you?
Thanks. Am I going to get like 3 words into this, do you think, before there's an interruption? Well, that was dead air, and that's good. So anyway, strap yourself in, lads. This is going to be long, and it's going to be annoying and dark. So first of all, we did the tour in Ireland, which was absolutely lovely. We're meeting people that we kind of know of social media and Discord. Richard got Sam lots of presents. Now, I got a present as well, which I'll get and show on video for later on. It was Dot, wasn't it, Sam? It was Dot, wasn't it, who gave us the present? I'm pretty sure.
Dottie, well, you had two presents.
Well, the book, sorry, from Chiara was lovely. So, Chiara got me a book of Irish insults, which I used to insult Alex on social media immediately. And Dot got me I suppose it's a garland of garlic.
Yes,
Alex?
a string of garlic.
So, which she wore in the front row of the audience, which was brilliant. And it did make me think, and this isn't a call for presents, I don't want presents, but I do love how most of the presents that people bring for Sam are, here's a lovely present. Yeah. And I often get stuff, which is, you're a vampire.
Yeah, it's wildly insulting.
You fucking love it.
I do. Yeah. While I was in Ireland, though, and the talks were lovely, I did, for the first time, I think, since I got diagnosed, a lot of self-reflection. You mentioned in a comment, and I urge you to chunter about this while I was setting up. I'm in the kitchen, by the way, because everything's gone wrong this morning. But Alex mentioned a couple of episodes ago about my anhedonia, about this fact that I suddenly realised I'm not a happy person. 130 odd episodes in, I'm the only person that hadn't realised that. And there's a thing you can look at online called the Wheel of Emotions, and I looked at various versions, and I genuinely, with a positive bias, thought, come on, remember some times when you felt this? And the only one I could genuinely say definitely I feel is contentment. And all the others, joy, happiness, all the positive emotions, I feel them, I would call them micro emotions. So maybe 3 or 4 seconds if I'm listening to a song, but for the vast majority of the time, I'm numb. And I look back to some of the happiest, in rabbit ears, times of my life, in places where I should have been really happy. And I can remember, yes, pre and post being converted. Yeah, I can remember, for example, at Sam and my kind of favorite holiday destination is Pike's Hotel. If you've been there, you know why. And I can remember us getting there and like having unpacked and then sitting out in the gorgeous sun in our favorite place, and Sam saying, "Oh, James, isn't it wonderful?" And I can remember thinking, "Well, I'm here." But saying, yeah, it's lovely. And there's so many times when Sam has been like that and said, "Oh, isn't this great?" And I've thought inside, I don't know. I don't feel anything. I know I'm in a place. My motto is now, well, that happened. Because it seems like for everything in my life, it's just a case of this is happening, that's happened, or negative emotions. And I also, I was chatting to Laura, lovely Laura, who is one of the volunteers for our now entirely separate charity, ADHD Adults UK, came to Ireland with us, and we had a really good chat about environments, because we'd been in a burger bar which was really loud and full of screaming kids and loud music, and it was uncomfortable, I think, for all three of us. But it made me realise that I don't, and have never accepted how much I mask. And for years, everywhere I went, whether it was to a club or a wedding or something, I would be masking. And even now, if you think post-lockdown, I haven't really been anywhere apart from the house. In the few occasions when I have, I've just been a mess and anxious. And if there's more than 3 people around me, I can't cope. But looking back, it's always been that way. But I just hid it, and I just got quiet and just didn't speak to people. So I'm kind of on this journey of self-discovery, which then obviously led to a bipolar low. So getting back from Ireland, and with this I'm out of my routine, got to get back into the routine now, and then spending a week in bed sleeping so that all the screaming thoughts can't be heard, meant that I let so many people down, which is fascinating, because the thought in particular this time when I was low, that was repeatedly going through my head, was, you always let people down, you're unreliable, you're a burden on people. And then ironically, by being mentally ill the next week, I let people down and was a burden on Sam. So the kind of self-fulfilling prophecy of that was amazing. And I honestly feel like I'm about as unraveled as I can be. Even now, when I am euthymic, meaning of normal mood, I'm having the thoughts about, what's the point? You're a useless human being, which normally is largely just when I'm in a low. And I'd like to finish off on a positive note. I've realised, so I used to laugh and joke that Sam could only smell two things. I can't remember the second one, but one of them is the smell of clothes which have been washed that didn't dry properly. She calls it scrubbers. You know, that slightly off smell when you know that like a thick jumper hasn't dried.
Oxfam, the Oxfam smell.
Exactly, yeah. Now, Sam can smell this with a far greater acuity than I can. So I'll like sniff a t-shirt and think, maybe, I don't know. And from 15 feet away, Sam will say, oh God, what smells of scrubbers? And I've realized that not even wolves can smell things as well as Sam can. Her sense of smell is fucking ridiculous. She can be stood 10 feet away from the faintest scent and go, oh, I can smell that thing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm the same with sounds, I think, as well. Little tiny sounds are amplified for me.
Yeah. So if anyone loses a body anywhere apart from Alex's murder forest, don't get out sniffer dogs. Just call Sam. I swear to God, she'll find it. She'll find it immediately if you just give them one item of their clothes, particularly if it smells of scrubbers. Alex, how was your week?
Bonkers, cheers. Yeah, I impulsively shaved my chest hair all off.
Oh, I had a boyfriend that used to do that. I hated it.
But it wasn't.
It's not an image I ever want to put in my mind. I'm just going to pop upstairs and get that garlic.
You accidentally? What do you mean it wasn't important purpose? Did you raise a slip?
No, I was.
It hasn't crushed your face.
No, it had. That's what I was doing. I was doing my beard, and I need to put plasters on the old nips when I'm doing more than 10K because it hurts. And I thought, they don't stick on because of the hairs. And I thought, you can't just shave two headlamps.
Fair enough, yeah.
So I went, ooh, and then I did it, and I thought, oh, well, I don't know why.
Can you not use those little round plasters? Is that not what they're for? You know, you get them in the plaster pack and think, well, what the fuck am I going to use that for? Nipples.
No, they're for.
What about some pasties?
That's exactly what my wife said.
Yeah, I can send you some if you want. I've got loads.
I thought it was
nipple tassels.
I thought it was pasties. Like Cornish pasties.
Yeah, me
too. I think it's pasties, but I might be wrong.
James, I'm really interested in anhedonia and treatment-resistant depression as well as ADHD. They're massively comorbid, and some of what you're describing is ADHD, and with you it's very extreme, and I suspect more than ADHD. But even if you have ADHD and you recognise what James has said, remember that we need more stimulus to get to the level of chocolate that other people get of dopamine serotonin.
I agree. At the same time, as you know, with anhedonia, ADHD medication can make it worse, and B, let's just say a rich and varied history of substance abuse can have an impact on your ability to feel positive emotions, and both of those things are present here.
I think in your case, I would guess that it slips into comorbid rather than because of. That's the way.
I agree. I actually think it's a mixture of alexithymia and anhedonia, because I might just not know what happy feels like. I tried to explain this is all difficult for Sam, because I'm telling my wife, who I love in rabbit ears, because I don't know what it is, dearly, that actually the best way I can describe my love for her is you're my safe place. When I'm with you, all the kind of the negativity goes away, and that's about as positive.
That's brilliant.
A thing.
That's how it should be.
I don't care how you feel.
No, absolutely disinterested.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for that, both. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in part 2 with what?
No, so we're not going to take a break because we haven't done what stupid thing have you been doing. The problem is, Sam, because you answer both questions the same, you often think
I've got separate ones for those. I just didn't realise. I'm sorry.
I know, but they answer the same question, don't they? Because all the stuff you've done in the last week is ADHD, and then you answered the same question twice.
Sorry about that.
Alex, had you finished, Alex, by the way?
Oh, no, James, I hadn't, not even remotely. All I'd said is to shave my chest hair off impulsively, but that's enough, I think. Thanks, Sam. What stupid thing have you been doing instead of what you were supposed to be doing this week? We've lost Sam. She's gone.
I got really into building interactive tools for my coaching when I should have been doing everything else, but my brain was
Mm.
just stuck on that. I also should have been enjoying sex, but I was completely distracted by a hair that was somewhere between our faces, the TV being on, and my face being sore from James's stubble.
Was that with me?
This is from a while back, obviously.
I thought we had an agreement, guys. I thought there was something
sorry. Yeah, lots of distractions. How about you, one of you? I don't care who.
I'll go first then. I would say the stupidest thing I've done is to write in the script the answer to the game, which I had planned for the episode we're going to record after this. Yeah. So I put in the script that I forgot which city I was in. So I wrote it on my hand. When we were in Ireland, it was only three places we visited, Cork, Dublin and Limerick. But by the time I was in Limerick, in my head, I kept on preparing by saying, good evening, Cork. No, not Cork. Evening, Cork. How are you doing? No, not Cork. So I had to write Limerick on my hand. And obviously chose a pen.
Cork.
But obviously that chose a pen which was not easy to wash off. So it said Limerick on my hand for fucking ages afterwards. And that was meant to be in the game we're doing later. So I've now got to come up with a new one. So that's me. Alex.
Is it surprising to you that I didn't know that, which reflects on how well I've read the script?
Shit.
Probably could have done the chest hair thing for this one because I wasn't supposed to be doing that. Not going on social media. Do you have this? I think you do, James, because of your self-loathing and letting people down. I couldn't open social media for the past 10 days.
Yeah, I get that.
I haven't been.
Just couldn't open it. And they don't, because people are like, oh, did you get that email where you said you'd talk to me about coaching? And no, I can't open it. And you owe me 4 talks in September and you haven't written them. Oh God. So yeah, and I have been playing the piano though. It's not great.
Do you do it? In my mind, although you'd needed more talent for this, I picture a Les Dawson / Dudley Moore playing it wrong, but somehow it being right. But I think it would just be wrong when you play it.
Yeah, I've got half of that absolutely nailed down. No, but if you can imagine Puff the Magic Dragon played really slowly and inaccurately. What's up, James? You've been distracted.
My watch keeps on vibrating, and I've had 14 Gmails in the last 3 seconds for some reason. So yeah. Anyway, this is going well. Sam, repeat the same type of answers you gave earlier.
I've already done mine.
Are you sure?
No, she has. Yeah.
I've done them. Thanks for that, both. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in part 2 with questions and thoughts from the ADHD adults community.
We're back.
Wrong. Alex, hi.
Hi. What's up? Hello, Governor.
Welcome back to episode 134, possibly, of the ADHD Adults Podcast Part 2, where, as always, we're taking questions from our wonderful ADHD adult community. There's some forms on some kind of website that, as we all love filling in forms, they're good at that. That's what we do, where you can get in touch and ask your question. We have some, though, don't we? And I guess people impulsively fill in really long ones and never think about it again.
All they need to do is just write what they want us to put on here.
Yeah.
I
say form, but it's not really a form.
What do you think the chances of the person that writes the question actually listening to the episode where their answer is on? Because that's what I wouldn't do.
We hear that a lot. We get lots of messages saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe you read my question," or something. I don't know.
That's some low standards. Question 1. Are you ready? Oh, question for Alex. It says, I have been thoroughly delighted with your interest in birds. I am an actual bird doctor. PhD, avian biology, genuine, random, unexpected, hyper-focused tangent. And I reckon you'll be well suited to transition to avian neuroscience. Maybe we can unlock some key mysteries about brain evolution. I tell people all the time that working with birds alleviates my symptoms. Everyone thinks I'm mental. They're not entirely wrong. That wasn't me. That's in the letter. My question, though, what do you reckon is behaviourally the most ADHD bird out there? The answer doesn't have to be fixed. Happy for regular updates on the most ADHD bird of the week. You'll be glad to know that. And then in brackets, no scientific research has been done to show whether a bird can develop ADHD, but it should be kept in mind that birds' brains function differently than those of humans. If your parrot has the above symptoms, it's probably just being a bird, reliable Google search, falling into a rabbit hole. And then they go on to say there's some research about attention, retention, choice in owls. And then he's put, no, that's too interesting, or she must sleep, need to know more. Relevant meme attached. Also, the Merlin app, which is a brilliant birding app, fucking rocks. Kiara, do you think that's the same Kiara as
no,
you met in Ireland?
That was because it's spelled differently. I put that in as a reward because you wrote the script, remember?
The interim script guy who loves interiming.
He loves interiming.
I made one of the biggest mistakes I've made in a while by trying to find an actual evidence-based answer to this question from Kiara by Googling birds with ADHD, and it was just a picture of you, Sam. I know, that joke was brought to you by 1983. It was a different time.
Wow.
What I did find, though, is a paper by author Sam, I'm not making this up, Dr. Fiddler, showing the difference in dopamine leads to personality differences in great tits.
Oh.
Dr. Fiddler's great tits is an
where was there not? Where I was leaving some space. How was there not a ding for either Dr. Fiddler or particularly great tits?
Dr. Fiddler's great tits. It's
great tits.
Because my brain was too distracted by how did they do a brain scan on a great tit? How did they know about the dopamine thing? I don't understand.
Post-mortem, I believe.
Yeah, it would be. They've now ruined Sam's entire day, Alex. What I loved about that is it reminded me of Charlie from Sonny, who is a bird law expert, and I'm not saying in any way that Kiara isn't a bird scientist, but yeah, the idea of being a bird law expert, I love. Anyway, that was a really good question, and yeah, Alex was rewarded for it being into rimming. Anyway, question 2.
That's good.
From Marco, it says, already answered super kindly by Sam through DM on your IG account, but I thought it may be useful for someone else out there. Double asterisk, just finished listening to episodes 66 and 7, which was about Robert from Kidderminster shuffling off this mortal coil and grief. Then the question, a good friend of mine just died of a shit death. I should be devastated, but instead I can't feel anything. No emotions, no tears, no sadness, nada, zero. What the fuck is wrong with me? I want to cry like a fountain, and I think that my mind is overprotecting me. I feel guilty for not being sad. What the fuck, ADHD? And that's from Marco. Alex, do you want to start?
Well, I'm sure I'm going to say what Sam said, really, which is there's no should when it comes to grief. You know, guilt is a pernicious and unpleasant hormone. We don't need it. It's rubbish. And there is no should. And ADHD people have different reactions to these things anyway. And yeah, emotional acceptance, blah, blah, blah. What did you say, Sam?
I can't remember, obviously. I can't remember what I said.
No.
But it wasn't that long ago. I think I just said that, you know, we don't choose how we react. It's just it's not something that you've got choice over, so you shouldn't feel guilty about something that you haven't chosen to do. You can't. And the fact that they want to be sad but they can't shows that, you know, they did care about the person. And it's just one of those things, isn't it? We can't help it. We're all like react or act the way that we don't want to. James, you've got more recent experience of this. And I remember saying to him, actually, when my nan passed away and I loved her, but even when I saw her dead body, I felt nothing. We can't control it, can we, James? Go on.
Yeah, so what I would say is that to add to what you two have both said, there's no universal rule book for grieving. That you'll remember the name, Alex. You've mentioned this before. That bullshit 5 stages of grief or whatever it is, which is completely fucking made up. You don't have to go through those stages. You might just go through one, and there are other stages you'll go through. There's no rules. We all grieve differently, and I know from people I'm coaching, for example, that this can cause problems if you either actually grieve or don't grieve. But the emotional centers of our brain, particularly the amygdala, which deals with negative emotions, do not work the same as the emotional centers in the brains of people without ADHD. And that means whilst you can acknowledge that you loved somebody, if you could feel positive emotions, you lucky bastard. If you acknowledge that you love somebody, or that obviously they're such an important part of your life, but you don't actually have that feeling, it's not your fault. And the other thing I would say just finally is give it time. Dad passed away for me 11th of December last year. And it was only really in June when my mental health started to unravel a bit that I started to even think about him. And I forget most days he existed. And it's only when a picture flashes up on my phone or I see something associated with him that I think about him. And even then, it's not grief and grieving, but just occasionally I can kind of force myself to. So when Sam was out the other day, I watched the film Big Fish. If you've ever seen it, Tim Burton, it's very much a father and son film. And it makes me cry anyway. But I put it on to make myself cry. I put it on because I thought I need to get some of this shit out. I need to just release some of the thoughts, and it actually really helped me. So Marco, there's no rule book. You know, it's not. You're not choosing to do this. So try and give yourself a little bit more slack.
Whenever you're sharing these, James, you see, Sam, we put our hands up to let us know that at the next call.
Yeah, I generally look at the screen. I'm sorry.
No. The worst bit is that I was interrupted to make a really arsehole mean comment about James, which is whenever he's sharing like really deep stuff, my brain goes like to the worst possible place. I wanted to say, James, that your amygdalas should be named after a peanut instead of an almond because it's so little. It's horrible.
Actually, no, it's I can feel the negative ones, mate. My amygdala is like a bull's fucking testicle. It's gigantic. It's just whatever areas process positive emotions. Exactly. But we all know about
all I was going to say is, you feel guilty for not feeling grief, but the grief isn't for the person that's
what have you
passed. They're not here anymore.
You've done something to your microphone.
Oh.
With all your fucking around, because it's now gone echoey. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Everyone knows the audio quality on this podcast shit anyway.
What have I done?
Let's fix it during the podcast. What? Yes.
Did you hear any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course we did. You're on a microphone.
Inside a well.
Yeah. Sam, do you want to go on to question?
Yeah, it's the grief that you feel isn't for them. Well, it is, but it doesn't benefit them. It only benefits you. So you shouldn't feel bad for them that you're not feeling grief for them because it's only for you.
Unless they're a ghost.
Grief isn't for anybody else apart from you, is it?
Whatever you've done to your microphone, it now sounds better than it ever has. So please don't ever touch it again. Don't touch it. Please, I'll move it at the end of the recording because you've actually finally somehow mistakenly got the right setting.
Amazing. Right, I've got a question. Well, I haven't, but Hannah has. To James, Mrs ADHD, and Alex. I do like that Alex was last. Please keep doing ADHD towers. I find them so comforting that I'm not feeling like I do. And burnout is horrible. I just had to go sick at work for 3 weeks because I physically couldn't do anything. So I know exactly how you're feeling, Sam. Take care of yourself and you'll see the other side soon.
That's threatening.
Yeah. I know. I just want to say, for all you do with the podcast, it's made me feel so comforted and not alone in my brain. It's made me realise I'm not the only one who feels the way I do, and I'm not the only one trundling along hoping for the best to happen. I do want to ask, how do I find motivation to do the smallest mundane household tasks? I always feel like I'm forgetting to eat, drink, clean, and all the rest, and it's only when it's far too overwhelming that it actually gets done. And I end up having a breakdown because it's too much. Hannah, oh my God, this resonates so much with me. James.
Yeah.
Cheers,
so hospital pass. Everybody's different. I saw a post on social media, and most social media posts on ADHD just fucking annoy me. But this one was quite good, and it said, whatever your organisation system is, that's fine. And it's true, actually. So nothing works for everybody. Nothing works for everybody. Sam has a list in her bathroom. I have a laminated list which I can tick off each morning in the bedroom for the self-care stuff. For the household stuff, the system we've developed, as I say to Sam, start of the day, just give me 3 things to do around the house. So it's breaking it down into small, achievable chunks. But the other thing, and this is something that Alex and I talk about in coaching a lot, is it's likely there are times during the day where you are more able to engage with tasks, your kind of golden hours. And
Definitely.
If you can use those, often again in coaching, if somebody's struggling with procrastination at work, the advice is always, well, do the tasks during the time you're most able to do tasks. Don't check emails, don't do stuff that's distracting, try and focus on tasks. And it's a little bit the same for home. So if there is a time of day when you are more functional, just do small, achievable household tasks. Tidying the house, as Alex has said before, arsehole, isn't an achievable task because it's always going to carry on getting dirty. But picking that mug up, hoovering that room, they are small, achievable tasks which collectively will help get you towards your aim. Alex?
All of that really. Long-term goals, get rid of them. I know that's a really controversial thing to say as a coach, but don't have them. Have overall values, like I want to be this or be like this, but overall goals, I want to achieve this. People who become millionaires through hard work over 20 years usually face serious depression afterwards because the long-term goal isn't helpful. It's life's what happens when you're planning. That's what it is. So here's some tips then quickly that won't work, or they might do, or they might work for a bit and then they'll stop. Because remember, that's the point. Things that work for a lot of people, double bubble. If you can do two things at the same time, like when I'm putting the kettle on for coffee in the morning, I'll empty a bit of the dishwasher. So I'm doing two things for one. That increases likelihood of reward. We slave to routine, hate routine, but routine for things like eating and self-care is really important. If you can, even if weirdly with ADHD, having the same lunch at the same time, because it's just what you do now, can stabilize your moods, because having eaten a small amount can stop you like chunking chocolate for 3 hours at 3 or whatever. So shit, and though it is, routines can help if you can get them into your mind. Timers, start timers, exit timers. And emotionally, ask yourself, instead of, I want to do this because it's the right thing to do, who will it help in the short term? Who will feel good later today if I do that? And do I want them to feel good? If it's someone you care about, do it for either because they'll like it or because they'll like you if you're happy you've done it. So if it is play the guitar for yourself, your partner's going to be happy that you're happy. You see, it's not, in fact, just for you. Those are the things that won't help but might, but probably not forever.
Sam?
Yeah, so like you said, I make like a list. I try now to have like I'll look at what I want to do for the week, and then I break it down per day, and then I'll try and just have three key things that I need to do, and I kind of sandwich. So I'll have 3 things for work, and then I'll sandwich them with little things that I need to do for home as well. But when I do a list of things that I've got to do for the day, I'll put things like eating and drinking on it, because then I remember to do it because I'm ticking it off.
And you get to tick some shit off.
Exactly, you get to go to the toilet. You get to tick some shit off as well.
And you get to go to the toilet.
I know, yeah. Motivation is hard, but sandwiching helps with me. So if I sandwich something fun with something not so fun, and also motivation for me is that
We're taking a break now in part 3. No, only joking. It's not very nice, is it, Sam?
I only do that when you've told me that you need to finish early and you need to keep on time, and I try and keep you on time. Anyway, I've forgotten now.
Motivation.
Oh yeah, so for me, because I do this all the time, if I can't keep on top of cleaning and tidying, it's so much better for my mind, because I'm looking at all the shit around me now, and this isn't good for my mental health. But when I let it get this bad, it's really hard to get it back again. So if you can remember that kind of keeping on top of it will stop that happening, but that's really hard to do. So something that I do is, if I'm really struggling to start with a task, just gamify it. So I'll do things like everything I cook in the air fryer, I cook for 10 minutes on the same setting. So while it's in the air fryer, I'll rush about and try and get as much as I can done in that 10 minutes, because I'm not wasting that time then. I'm getting something else done.
Double bubble, that is.
Yeah, and it means that you eat as well if you've got an air fryer. Well, you can still eat if you haven't got an air fryer, to be honest. But you can also sometimes I'll set a 10-minute or 15-minute timer on my phone. So when I'm sandwiching tasks, obviously my work tasks are the main tasks that I have to do for the day, but I'll sandwich them with a little 10-minute timer, sorry, James, and just rush off and do a bit of what I've got to do. That's something that I do. So sorry, go on.
Go on.
No, I was just bored. That's all.
Yeah.
I've just noticed, by the way, I brought the string of the garland string of garlic down that Dot lovingly got me, and I've just noticed that she's put "Thank you, James, Alex, and Sam. You're awesome," and I actually like it less now because it mentions you two.
Yeah. Well, I've just been thanked for ADHD Towers, and I don't even know what that is.
Well, we released it on Monday instead of the podcast because we didn't release a podcast.
That's it for part 2. We're taking a break. Part 3, we'll be back with thoughts on this week, last week, don't knows, theme, and the podcast. See you in a sec.
Bye.
Song trumpet.
Welcome back to part 3 of the ADHD Adults Podcast, The Week in ADHD, which should have been following the episode on caffeine, but James had a mental health crisis and we released ADHD Towers on Monday instead. What made you choose the last idea for a theme, Alex?
Well, Sam, it was on that boring list you made me read. That's why. It's just a big long list on the internet. And when I'm trying to think of what to do, or when the script guy is, in a way, my jelly turns to blancmange. I don't know if that's the same for you, James.
Yeah, James's jelly is blancmange, actually.
Is it also blancmange, James?
I am on the cusp. I am on the precipice.
How can we push you over that?
You pair of cunts. So for anybody that hasn't seen this in ADHD Towers, yes, ha. I was doing a talk in Dublin, and as somebody had asked about a question, ironically, we've just mentioned golden hours, and I said, well, I'm more effective in the morning because after 3 o'clock, and what I wanted to say was my brain turns to jelly. But in my head, I suddenly thought, I should say jelly or blancmange, which do you think? And instead, I said, after 3 o'clock, my jelly turns to blancmange. And didn't notice. And the crowd were lovely because they didn't laugh, I don't think. I mean, they don't laugh generally.
Me and Dom laughed. Yes, my jelly is blancmange.
Maybe they thought you added milk to your jelly. That's one for the cooks amongst you.
Is that what blancmange is?
It kind of. I think I'm right in saying when Jack the Toe Brown guy was round this week, and I told him that, he said, "What's blancmange?" But then again, he's under 30, so he won't know. He won't have had those Sundays where there was a moulded
bit of tapioca, semolina, lovely.
Oh, that's
awful. God, that's no, awful. Don't.
What about you, Sam? No, James. Why did you choose this theme?
Well, I was actually really impressed. The interim script guy chose this theme, and at first I thought that's a shit theme. This is going to be a disaster. But I actually learned something. Yeah. I actually learned something, and so I didn't choose it. But for once, I'm glad the interim script guy produced it.
I'm just laughing because I'm just remembering at one of the talks when somebody thought you were recommending.
That's later. Okay. It's written down later.
Okay, sorry. I have no editorial rights in this podcast. I didn't choose the theme, and I had no interest in it. Was there any thought or tip from the theme that you forgot to say, Alex?
Yes, there was. Big one is that this idea of who can't and shouldn't take caffeine includes famously pregnant people. And I'm not recommending that they do drink caffeine. What I will say, though, is that pregnant people seem to have been excluded from all the original research just in case. So we don't have the information, which is sort of translated over time into caffeine is deadly for unborn babies, and there's just no real truth to it whatsoever.
It's to some extent it's the same with ADHD medication, because if you look at the evidence there's there are small chances of very, very small and slight chances of some kind of issue with the growing fetus, but the guidance is balance it up. If the risk is less than the benefits, give medication, but almost no doctors will.
It's true, and it's just like the evidence of caffeine on ADHD. It's probably, in fact, stronger than we think it is. Normally on this podcast, we're always going, oh, yes, everyone says use turmeric, but it's a load of old bollocks. That's what we say every single week. But with caffeine, it's kind of the other way around, that the evidence is probably stronger than the data suggests, because it's quite hard to figure out what dose people were taking. So some of the times it hasn't worked is when you had 1 cup of coffee. That's not going to help anyone, man, woman, or child. Sam, anything you forgot to say about caffeine?
No.
Good. Thank you for that.
That is my favourite bit of we've ever done in the podcast. That little exchange. Sam, have you got any other thoughts? No, she's been staring again at that tube which she bought and wasn't really listening, obviously. So it was if
you don't watch it on the video, you'll know I really like to wait for Sam to be fully dissociated and distracted before asking a direct, closed question. The panic in her eyes is, I could genuinely bottle it if I was allowed.
No,
Job, Jim.
Yeah.
So this is the bit that Sam was about to blurt out earlier because she never reads the script, and this is related to my earlier comment that I learned something. So first of all, I mentioned this a little bit. We're all different. We all respond differently. I am a non-responder to caffeine in the same way that some people don't respond to some medications. I don't get any of the kind of positive effects. It's still a shit drink, if you ask me.
And it's the same way that Sam's a non-responder. I had my hand up, Sam. So what that means is you do when James did a pause on purpose, so I could come in with a humorous story or a joke of some kind. And what you did is turn away from what you were staring at to just randomly give a thought. Which I liked. Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, because it's a proper joke idea.
It does drink coffee, though.
No, I drink coffee. So, for example, that's based, because I can tell by your lack of memory, on the fact that we went out for breakfast the other day and I ordered a coffee, and I have in a couple of other places.
No, I had no idea that you ordered coffee.
That is solely because I am not willing to pay £3.20 for a cup of tea when I know that it's basically costing them a 1 penny tea bag, some hot water and a bit of milk. So I pay for coffee just because I'm not willing to pay that much for a cup of tea. It's a fucking scam.
You've also bought a coffee machine and you have refillable coffee filter things.
And do I ever use it?
I don't know. I have no interest
I love
in you.
that you won't pay for tea in a coffee shop because when I was sired, it was only one gross.
Yeah, exactly. I can make it myself. Can I have some hot water, please? I brought a tea bag and some milk or some fucking milk powder. That would be much more effective. Anyway.
Just for completion, my joke, Sam, was that you're a non-responder, not to caffeine, but to James. It's a callback to the whole sex conversation.
Right.
It's
and I think it would have worked well for one.
Yeah, I'm so
Which
sorry
is a shame.
interrupted that.
Normally 50-50. Anyway, carrying on the bit that I was doing. Sam mentioned this, so I use this information because I learned something else. And then, listen, things are fucked in the UK for ADHD. They're more fucked in Ireland. Now, having spent some time over there speaking to people, it looks like half of the country there's no service, and there are HSE, which is the healthcare organisation, governmental healthcare organisation, is trying to improve this a bit like our government might claim it is, but it's a disaster. So one of the questions was, well, I might have to wait ages to even get a diagnosis. What can I do? So I talked about, the basics of self-care. Sleep can help, help your symptoms, eating, exercise. And then I mentioned caffeine. And I cannot stress enough, this was a lovely woman. She came up and chatted afterwards. I think she misheard the bit where I mentioned your effective dosing, which is 2 cups for an adult, but it would be 1 cup for a child. Basically shouted to someone who'd asked a question at the back, "Don't give coffee to your children," in like kind of a really
impulsive way.
Yeah, the person had asked a question about how they can help their child. And you were telling them, and then mentioned just as an aside about the caffeine thing for adults. But I think, they thought that you were telling them to give coffee to their child. And
give 1 to 2 cups per day. That was the effective dose. It's a very young to do that.
But that's it for me.
I love it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I reckon everybody's now jellies and now blancmange. So that was our episode 134 of the ADHD Adults. It was the first Friday Extra edition of the ADHD Adults podcast that came after the wrong Monday because of games-related issues, and it was all about coffee because coffee is going to hit the metrics better than just talking about caffeine. It was caffeine, really. If you like this nonsense and want to get involved, please contact us using forms in rabbit ears. It's just a square box on our podcast website, the ADHD Adults.uk. Have a lovely weekend. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Trigger warning klaxon, 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 big klaxon. Trigger warning klaxon, 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 klaxon.